Good evening. Thank you for joining me. We're talking about a Tuesday here on Conversations with Taz. Once again, we have a lot to get through because there's so much happening. The background noise, I'm still watching, excuse me, to see if Liz Cheney can pull through this primary. If not, who's going to come in and take her place? Um, whew, where to start? Le Bridgerton lawsuit. Some of y'all got some questions about it. This should wrap up quite a few of your questions. Let's go.
Okay, a condensed version of the B&B and Netflix debacle. This is Abigail Barlow and Emily Bear. In the middle of quarantine, they started uploading little pieces of songs that they had written that were inspired by the hit Netflix show Bridgerton, which is also based off a series of books. What started as very quick clips, usually 20 to 30 seconds, quickly grew into full songs. They got millions and millions and millions of views. The creators of the Netflix show even told them how much they liked it. And then things started to get a little bit dicey. They released a full album titled Bridgerton, the Unofficial Musical. And then they uploaded it to Spotify. Now, apparently before it went on Spotify, they actually had a meeting with Netflix where Netflix basically told them, we are going to allow you to put this on Netflix because we think it's good for the fans, but it needs to stop here. As you might imagine, it did not stop there. B&B were then invited to the Grammys where they won a Grammy for the Unofficial Musical. They then decided to launch a full touring campaign, selling out locations such as Madison Square Garden. Netflix offered them a licensing agreement and they refused. So now Netflix is suing for intellectual property theft and copyright.
Now, it's okay to be a fan of something. It's okay to create fandom art. It is okay to state that you were inspired by something. But when someone is a creative, when someone spends millions of dollars putting together a project, when somebody spends billions of hours putting it together and putting their blood, sweat, and tears into it, do you really think they're going to let you just walk away scot-free where they've already created the market that you're leaping into? And yes, Netflix is involved. But this is more of what we Black people, especially Black women, talk about when we say that it's so disheartening to see people profiting off of our work or how we are naturally. Because let's face it, at the core, Shonda Rhimes is a Black woman who converted this into a screenplay, who brought this vision for all, for impeccable representation to Netflix. And before you all go, Taz, you're reaching, everything doesn't have to be about race. If it didn't, the hierarchy of race, the concept of race would have never been conceived. If Shonda Rhimes would not be Black, would they have done what they did and would they have shunned the Netflix deal? Because they know Netflix is a powerhouse. So them shunning what was presented to them had less to do with Netflix and more about, it's just a Black woman. They're not going to come after us for that. Yep, credit has to be given where it's owed. Now, I know I've read some excerpts. I don't know why I can't talk tonight. Maybe because I was trying to stuff my face before we started, full disclosure. But I've given a few snippets of Jared Kushner's upcoming book that have been made public. I have not read it. I don't know what all is in it. I hear it's just a kiss ass, we didn't do anything type of book. Jared Kushner seems to be more loyal to Trump than even Ivanka is. But I digress. Coming from The Guardian, Breaking History Review, Jared Kushner's Dispiriting Trump book. The House January 6 committee hearings depict Donald Trump as eager to storm the Capitol. He knew the rally held in his name included armed individuals. When rioters chanted, excuse me, hang Mike Pence, Jared Kushner's father-in-law remarked, he deserves it. In response to a plea from Kevin McCarthy, the 45th president questioned the House Republican leader's devotion. The mob invaded Congress. Trump sat back and watched. Kushner has not fared well either. In testimony to the panel, he has derided Pat Cipollone was a whiner and described deigning to exit the shower to take a call from a panicked McCarthy. On the screen, Kushner drips hauteur, empathy non-existent. It's not a good look. Excuse me. Then comes Breaking History, Kushner's White House memoir. It sits in the intersection of spin, absolution, and self-aggrandizement. What is clear to me is that no one in the White House expected violence that day. Kushner wrote of January 6th. Cassidy Hutchinson says otherwise. Kushner adds, I'm confident that if my colleagues or president had anticipated violence, they would have prevented it from happening. DC police tell a different story. This is very reminiscent to how Lauren Boebert described her book and events she rewrote and whitewashed. Kushner rebuffed early entries from Mark Short, the vice president's chief of staff, to end Trump's attempt to stop certification of Joe Biden's win. You know, I'm really focused on the Middle East right now, Kushner replied. I haven't really been involved in the election stuff since Rudy Giuliani came in. In the aftermath of January 6th, White House morale was at a nadir, according to Kushner. A second impeachment loomed. Kushner told staff to stay the course. You took an oath to the country, he recalls. This is a moment when we have to do what's right, not what's popular. If the country is better off with you here, then stay. If it doesn't matter, then do what you want. Oh my good. This sounds like the propagandized textbooks that they gave us in school. Like the great founding fathers stood up and proclaimed for the nation that if you cannot stand with us, just leave. I can't. The sales pitch sounds canned. Those who had served in the military found the spiel stale and grating. In Kushner Inc., the author Vicky Ward described Kushner's earlier efforts to persuade Mark Carallo to join the White House staff. Carallo was once in the Army and did a stint in the Department of Justice too. After he said no, Kushner asked, "Do you want to serve your country?" Carallo replied, "Young man, my 3 years at the butt end of an M16 checked that box." Trump dodged the draft for Vietnam when his brother Fred Jr. accepted the commission in the National Guard. He met with his family scorn. In contrast, Mike Pence's son, the Biden boys, Steve Bannon, all wore the uniform. Let's not forget that when Ivanka was called in to testify, she didn't plead the fifth. She answered the questions. She confirmed that her father wouldn't accept that he lost the election. She confirmed that she and others told him, "You lost the election, chill, like cut this out." Her own husband is more loyal to her father and willing to go down the sinking ship. And it's like, Jared Kushner, do you forget the family that you come from? You all have already had impeccable in increasing legal woes. Like you all are. I see why a Kushner married a Trump. Y'all both ain't shit. But let's keep this comedic train going. George Bush, while giving a speech, gave a slip up. I need y'all to really, really, really pay attention to this one. I'm going to play it. I'm going to come back. Make sure y'all got the slip up. I don't think you have to be in the military to be president, but I don't think you should have illegally dodged the draft and been president. I don't think that without releasing your tax returns to make sure that another country didn't have a stronghold on you, you shouldn't have been president. Oh, definitely dumber than a box of rocks. But pay very, very close attention to this next clip because, yeah, just listen closely. Have a good laugh. Here we go.
Former President George W. Bush was delivering a speech at his presidential center today at Southern Methodist University in Texas. And while talking about Russia and its president, he made what must be one of the biggest Freudian slips of all time.
In contrast, Russian elections are rigged. Political opponents are imprisoned or otherwise eliminated from participating in the electoral process. The result is an absence of checks and balances in Russia and the decision of one man to launch a wholly unjustified and brutal invasion of of Ukraine. Iraq, anyway. 75.
I'm not laughing. And I'm guessing nor are the families of the thousands of American troops and the hundreds of thousands of Iraqis who died in that war.
They continue to tell on themselves. Now, I have not heard anything about any of the Bushes supporting Trump. I'm not saying that in the least. I'm not associating them with Trump. I'm speaking generally about the GOP, especially since the party switch. That seems to be their goal. They feed you the bullshit propaganda of we want small government, where they want big government and they want to be the big government and they want to go unchecked. Why do you think so many of their sycophants idolize Putin and Russia? If you think I'm joking, watch any of the big conservative news outlets. They can't get enough of Putin. And look at the propaganda that they create around Trump. It's the same propaganda that's put out regarding Putin. Same type. We went from other countries learning racism and how to perform genocide from the United States to now the United States taking pages out of those books and just acting like it's apropos. I tell you, fact will always be stranger than fiction. Always, always, always. Quick updates. A federal judge will be holding a hearing on Thursday regarding whether or not the search warrant affidavit will be unsealed. The DOJ wants the affidavit to remain sealed. This is not the warrant, it's the affidavit that led to the warrant. And they want it to remain sealed due to the effect this would have on ongoing investigations. And we already see what Trump did in his hissy fit regarding the warrant. He did not redact it. He did not wait for a redacted copy to be released. He released it and put FBI agents, their families, and most specifically their children in danger, as we learned just how far they were willing to go last night. And while Trump and his sycophants continue to fearmonger, y'all know what Trump gonna do, what a Trump gonna do. He's up the ante of his grift. I would say y'all not gonna believe this, but I don't think anything surprises anybody anymore regarding Trump. Take a look.
Alert! You're a traitor. You abandoned Trump. We were told you were a tried and true, lifelong patriot. But when Trump said he'd run for president if we took back the House from Nancy Pelosi, you did nothing. Was Trump wrong about you? This is your final chance to prove your loyalty or be branded as a deserter. We're giving you one final chance to stand with Trump. You only have 17 minutes. Jesus Christ. Do Trump supporters know that they're in an abusive relationship? Oh my God.
Now remember, within the past 48 hours, Donnie Jr. took to social media stating that they didn't want protesters coming to Mar-a-Lago because Trump loved almost all of his followers, but they needed to keep the property clean. That was just confirmation on different quotes that came out from Donald Trump on January 6th saying that the people look lowbrow and dirty. But there's a reason why he's spiraling so much. From NBC News, ex-Trump organization official Alan Weisselberg, the top financial man and the CEO, I believe, expected to plead guilty in tax case. Former Trump organization CFO Sorry, CFO, not CEO. Alan Weiselberg is expected to plead guilty to criminal charges tied to his indictment by the Manhattan District Attorney's Office in an investigation of former Donald Trump's business, according to two people familiar with the matter and a public court filing. Weiselberg is expected to be sentenced to 5 months in jail as part of that plea, which could come as soon as Thursday morning, what two sources said. For the charges, and I've been following this since it started, for the charges that are going on, for him to be willing to plead guilty and only receive 5 months, he has given up the goods. He has given up the goods. They done bought him the first 48 chicken and a soda. They done let him go out for a smoke break. He's like, give me that Martha Stewart jail, and I'll tell you whatever you want. Other terms of the plea were not immediately disclosed, but sources said that Weiselberg is expected to cooperate against the Trump organization itself. There is no indication he will cooperate in any investigation into the former president, however. Honey, you can't separate him from the company. If you can separate him from the company, means that he has no physical ties to the company, and everything that he said about being a mover and shaker is false, and he has additional fraud charges coming. So what's it going to be? Because whatever information you have is going to go back to him, right? Right? Weiselberg and the Trump organization were charged as part of what prosecutors described as an off-the-books scheme over 15 years to help top officials in the Trump organization avoid paying taxes. Weiselberg, 74, was accused of avoiding paying taxes on $1.7 million of his income. Off the book. Every time something new comes up regarding Trump, it sounds more and more like I keep telling y'all, like he really believes he is the main character in the Godfather trilogy. Like he's living casino. He thinks that he's the head honcho in charge in Ocean's 11. He thinks he's the ringleader in the show Leverage. He really thinks he's one of the good fellas. He's Fredo. That is so appropriate because his brother name was actually Fred, but his brother was way better than him. But like at this point, I just want the IRS to roll up on Trump with an accurate tax bill and just have Rihanna playing in the background like, bitch better have my money. Like that's like that should be the climax as they clink him up and carry him off to jail. But when Trump was saying that the FBI planted the documents that he has at his house, but he also declassified the documents that he had at his house, and he bought an extra lock because they told him he needed extra security for the locks. You can't even view documents like that. Klobuchar always comes through for us. She came through with the come through again. Here we go.
Amy Klobuchar said, as a senator, I know when I look at the classified documents, I've got to go in a special room. I can't even wear my Fitbit. This comes after Trump said he alone declassified documents, which is not even possible for a president to do alone, furthering the fact that any documents he took from the White House to Mar-a-Lago was illegal.
So tell me again what he declassified? How do you do that again? I remember, just out of the white supremacist handbook, blame the black man, blame the woman, and lie till you get a splinter in your eye. Now, the following will be 3 videos back to back. Evidently, the DOJ didn't have Trump's passports, or they returned them. It's still murky on that. Some outlets are saying they returned them. Some are saying they never had them. Only thing I could confirm is that they did, in fact, have 2 of the passports that may have been in the boxes for whatever reason. Because if you're claiming you weren't going through the boxes regularly, why were 2 of your passports in there? So there was a 3rd passport that wasn't there. Oh, and do note that Rudy Giuliani, for some reason, has a plane ticket to Rome. Is that their plan? To meet up in Vatican City for a nice romantic dance under the moonlight? But I'll see y'all in 2 and 2, and we'll discuss.
Important update about Trump's passports. According to a Department of Justice official, Donald Trump's passports were not seized in the raid of Mar-a-Lago, and the DOJ is not in possession of any of his passports. This, according to CBS News. And as I mentioned in the last video, it'd be very weird for the DOJ to seize someone's passports if the person is not indicted. It's not until a person is indicted and determined to be a flight risk where the passports are ever taken. So it's likely that Donald Trump lied to his supporters, but even this still remains to be seen.
So, Trump got his passports back. Turns out the FBI did in fact have them and gave them back shortly after his rant on Truth Social. In totally unrelated news, Putin said he'd be waiting for Trump over at Moscow airport with flowers.
Okay, so now the word on the street is the FBI does not have Trump's passports. Shocker, he lied. But there is a plausible explanation. According to Frank Figliuzzi, who is a commentator on MSNBC, but he's also a national security specialist, presidents obtain multiple passports. You have your blue citizen one, a red diplomatic one, and then there's your black one, which is your government official passport. The simple explanation could possibly be during the search of Mar-a-Lago, they removed his red passport and his black passport, which would be government official passports, and he's no longer a government official, so he can no longer have those. But I wouldn't put it past Trump to just fucking straight up lie about it all, just so that he can stoke more violence. I don't know.
Not just stoke more violence, because he is like that narcissistic parent that constantly needs you to prove that you love them above everybody else. No, just check on me from time to time, okay? But he wants to continue the grift, like we saw in a video just a few minutes back. But coming from ABC News, former federal prosecutor reveals the powder keg in FBI raid on Trump. Last Monday, FBI officials raided former President Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago home in Palm Beach, Florida. Once again, let me point out, it is registered as a golf resort and a National Historic Landmark. This is not like somebody coming through my front door. Keep that in mind, because this is the same place where we kept hearing that Trump was crashing private events where people chose to rent out parts of Mar-a-Lago. Executing a court-ordered search warrant, the Department of Justice later revealed was related to possible violations of 3 criminal statutes. Officers seized a total of 27 boxes from Mar-a-Lago, with 11 containing classified documents, including top secret information. ABC News contributor and former federal prosecutor Nan Nowadays spoke with ABC News's Phil Lipoff about what stands out to him in the search warrant, the top secret materials in the boxes, and what officials are likely doing now. Nowadays, first off, the huge big powder keg is the fact that the judge found probable cause to believe that there was a violation of the Espionage Act. And keep in mind, this is the Espionage Act of 1917. If you all would like to go over that in detail, please let me know. I can work that into either next Tuesday's show or next Thursday's show. And if you've taken any of my classes, when I say we're going to deep dive into it, we're going to deep dive into it, not just what's contained in the Espionage Act currently, but what was in there previously, who else has been prosecuted, convicted underneath this, who was involved in it, the most notable people, and even there is some corruption behind the Espionage Act of 1917, but what in the United States doesn't have corruption involved in it? Prime. And that's no small feat. We're talking about espionage here. Nowadays, exactly what that means is that they think there was mishandling of top secret information that was transmitted to unauthorized persons. This is the exact same statute that National Security Agency whistleblower Edward Snowden was charged with. Let's not forget Julian Assange from WikiLeaks was also so, Prime. All right, so let's move on to the receipt here. The things that they say they took in this search warrant, in this search of former president's home, you can see at the top a grant of clemency for Roger Stone, information on the president of France. Then we see, as you move down, secret documents, miscellaneous. Then we have top secret documents, confidential documents, more top secret documents. Talk about top secret for a minute, because, you know, people can throw that term around, but what does that mean? For anybody that missed it, last week we went over the search warrant when it was released, and there was a visual put up. If you missed that, go back and rewatch it so you can see exactly what was there and don't just take my word for it. Nowadays, and you're exactly right, feel like people throw that term around, but it's actually very, very specific. What top secret means is a type of document or information that, if gets out there, can cause exponentially grave damage to our national security. So it's really important stuff. It's sensitive stuff. And the thing that sticks out to me is item 2A, various TS/SCI documents. The predecessor to the NSA, the Black Cabinet, the person that was the head of the Black Cabinet went on to write a book called The American Black Cabinet. He fell into the net of the Espionage Act of 1917 because he was responsible for breaking the code of Japanese ambassadors, etc. And it gave the Japanese such an insight into who the U.S. government had working on breaking codes, because he was a cryptographer, who the cryptographers were working, where they were working, how they found these things out, the methods that they used. And Japan was able to increase their counterintelligence towards the United States. Movies have been wiped out of existence. Most notably, Spirit of 76, a silent film. This is why, should you choose to be a whistleblower and you have sensitive information regarding national security, you have to follow certain protocols and turn the information over to certain people. Because just putting it out there puts the nation in danger. This is why I get such a chuckle when these ultra MAGA Trumplicans go, oh, I know for a fact I got the information in my phone. I can prove it to you. No, you can't. They would have already kicked through your door, my guy. Do you think sensitive information is just slipping out willy-nilly? This is why I keep telling you all, pay attention to the verbiage that Trump was using through his presidency regarding Mar-a-Lago, calling it the Winter White House. I'm telling you, and if you didn't listen to today's Tastastic Tuesdays, it'll be the video right before this one. Sometimes it's right before this one. Sometimes it's right after it, after we wrap for the night, but it's there. Podcasts are never long. But for your viewing entertainment, there's a 1988 video regarding Senator Rafael Cruz. Y'all know him as Ted, but I call him what his mama named him, Raphael. You know, the Canadian that keeps trying to run for president. Here we go.
Aspiration. Is that like sweat on my butt? No. Oh, I see. What you want me to do, what I want to do in life. Well, my aspiration is to, I don't know, be in a teen tit film like that guy who played Horatio. You know, he was in Malibu Bikini Beach Shop. Well, other than that, take over the world domination, rule everything, rich, powerful, that sort of stuff.
Crazy think Ted's gonna rule the world one day?
I hope not.
Open Gangnam Style.
And before you go, everybody has parents that don't have confidence in them. That wasn't a, I hope not like, that's a, I hope not like your child is Chucky. But you heard his plan to be rich and powerful and to rule the world. We've seen it, but it's always good to have confirmation because we can have theories all day long. He doesn't care about his fellow man. He's Latine and has completely whitewashed himself. He couldn't even carry on his family legacy and continue to call himself Raphael. Where did Ted come from? But before we continue, we still sticking with the GOP. That seems to, we got the GOP. Yeah, you know me tonight for some reason. Hold on, because I can't remember. That's the one thing about our local publications. This is actually coming from 95.3 Wiki. Attorney General Cameron from Kentucky asked district court to permanently dismiss challenge to Kentucky pro-life law. Coming out of Frankfort, Kentucky, Attorney General Cameron today filed a motion asking a federal district court to overturn its previous ruling and permanently dismiss a challenge to Kentucky's live dismemberment law, House Bill 454. The motion was filed following a ruling by the United States Court of Appeals for the 6th District, which directed the district court to reconsider its prior ruling in light of the U.S. Supreme Court's decision in Dobbs v. Jackson Women's Health Organization. We fought all the way to the Supreme Court to defend Kentucky's law banning live dismemberment, said Attorney General Cameron. We hope that the action we took today is the final step in our fight to reinstate this important law. See the verbiage that they use to try to scare you. Pay attention. In 2018, the Kentucky General Assembly passed HB 454, and the law was immediately challenged by a Kentucky abortion clinic. No shit, Sherlock. After being sworn into office, Attorney General Cameron defended HB 454 on behalf of the Cabinet for Health and Family Services. But when the Beshear administration decided to stop defending the law, Attorney General Cameron asked to step in. The Sixth Circuit refused the Attorney General's effort, and Attorney General Cameron took his case to the United States Supreme Court. In March, the Supreme Court ruled he could defend the law. Amazing. You fought so hard to be pro-forced birth and anti-abortion, but you couldn't fight for Breonna Taylor, and you impeded justice. How coontastic committee of you. But let's carry on. Following the United States Supreme Court decision, Attorney General Cameron filed a petition with the United States Court of Appeals for the Sixth Circuit, asking the court to allow the case to be reheard. The Sixth Circuit agreed and sent the case back to the district court. Attorney General Cameron's motion explains that the district court should permanently dismissed the case in light of the U.S. Supreme Court's ruling in Dobbs. In light of Dobbs, the abortion clinic that originally challenged the law joined Attorney General Cameron in making this motion. Isn't there unlawful gentrification going on in the Louisville metropolitan area? Aren't there a slew of unsolved murders? Aren't there a shit ton of doctors writing prescriptions willy-nilly just because a patient asked them for it? Aren't there a ton of meth labs going up all over the place in the good old Commonwealth? But okay. But moving on to Tucker Carlson, his text and his bromance with Alex Jones.
Tucker Carlson is shitting himself, scared that his Alex Jones texts may leak. You may not know, maybe I should start with the video, a little mashup that Media Matters put together, of the close intertwined relationship between Tucker Carlson to Alex Jones.
So here's what Tucker Carlson had to say about it.
Alex Jones.
Tucker Carlson's finally hitting on this.
Alex Jones.
Tucker Carlson.
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 Alex Jones.
Tucker Carlson says you're right about gay frogs.
Alex Jones. Ew.
So that should clue you into exactly how fearful Tucker Carlson is about his Alex Jones communications becoming public. Because the DOJ, while they are locked down pretty tight and there's not a lot of leaks there, Congress is a different story and it always has been. I'm all on board for those text messages to be released. I am begging for someone to send me them.
I mean, Alex was sending nudie pics of his own wife to Roger Stone, and he was not and is not as close to Roger Stone. And Roger Stone looking like he got an impressive pardon. You know, Tucker Carlson is way closer. So, and they're always, as you see, quoting each other on each other's shows. But I want y'all to take a look at politicians in 2022. And before you go, Taz, we already know. We see Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert, and we saw this person. This even goes below Madison Cawthorn. Here we go.
They say we're in a banana republic. I think it's an insult to banana republics across the country. I mean, at least the manager of Banana Republic, unlike our president, knows where he is and why he's there and what he's doing.
Oh my God. Look, I'm not going to blame the average American for not knowing what a banana republic is. You've got to be kind of a nerd to use that phrase regularly. I am, however, going to blame a literal politician who thinks that when people refer to banana republics, that they're talking about the clothing store. For the record, a banana republic is a nation whose economy is dependent on the export of one or a few crops, like bananas. But Republicans are using the term to critique the Biden administration for being corrupt and shadowy, which according to Bo Hines is just like the Banana Republic at the mall.
I would say this is shocking. But in all my studying and research into acts and laws and legislation, ignorance is always woven into it. The best way to skate through the legal system is to have the complexion for the protection, have the gender and the member, and be ignorant. Because 9 times out of 10, you won't break these major laws if you're stupid. We can go into that at a later date. There does have to be a correction made regarding the Nebraska mother and daughter and the friend who turned them in. It was not a simple morning after pill or an abortion pill. and Facebook Messenger didn't just willy-nilly give up the text messages. So I'm going to play you a video, then I have an article, and then we'll talk about it.
The mother and daughter have been arrested and are charged with performing an illegal abortion.
I highly encourage you to go look up this case on CNN or NPR to get more information, because the person I'm stitching did not provide.
So first and foremost, I want to say that this is not me coming to V's defense in any way, shape, or form. They are a fully grown adult and they are more than capable of defending themselves. I've seen this video stitched several times on my FYP today and have since gotten more information on this case. So this is me taking accountability and being proactive for what is on my page, because I believe that if you know that your shit stinks, you should probably address it before someone asks, what's that smell? A couple days ago, Forbes came out with an article centering around a Nebraska teen and her mother who took abortion pills while she was 23 weeks pregnant, which is a crime in Nebraska. At the time that the article was published, the angle of the article was people should be mindful of what they are posting on social media and what they are saying in their personal messages, because despite Facebook saying that they would further encrypt their messages and provide greater protection for people receiving abortion care, they gave these messages to Norfolk County Police Department, which then led to the charges being added in their case. And at the time of its initial publishing, it wasn't clear if Facebook handed over these private messages with or without a warrant, which is shown in the editor's note, as they say that they have since updated the story now that they know that the messages were obtained via search warrant. But now, new information has come out surrounding this case. Now, not only is the story that Celeste Burgess allegedly had an abortion at 23 weeks, it's that she gave birth to a stillborn baby, burned the corpse, and then buried it with the help of her mother. And this situation brings up an issue that I feel like a lot of the news talk creators face in this space. A lot of the times people fail to realize that unless we are talking about a verdict that was just handed down, news is very much a work in process. It's an ongoing story that's constantly being updated, and the angles are going to change as more information comes out. When this story first dropped, Forbes was the only major publication that was covering it. And given the information that was available at the time, the angle was people should be cautious about what they post on social media because nothing is ever truly private. And of course, like what typically happens in news, other publications essentially copied and pasted this article in their own special way to fit their audience. But again, new information was added to this case. It's further reflected in the statement given by a Meta spokesperson after the story's initial publication, and you guys can pause to read. My point is, we as news creators can only give you information based on what is available during the time that we are making these videos. You should never take what I say to be the end-all be-all. The point of my videos is to bring up something I think is interesting to you all, and if you guys think that is interesting enough, your job is to do more research on it.
Like I say, I still stand by my original statement. Be careful what you put online, especially when you put it in Messenger. Whether it's handed over by the social media platform itself, taken down by the social media platform itself, or screenshotted and handed over by someone you believe is a friend or a confidant, protect yourself. I don't care how much or how quickly you think you can delete something. I don't care how many times you go to the Wayback Machine to check and you're like, oh, I'm good. It's not there. It is going to be somewhere. Now, coming out of kktv.com, mother-daughter charged after alleged at-home abortion. A Nebraska woman is facing a number of felony charges after police claim she helped her teenage daughter have an illegal abortion, then bury the remains. The teenager is also facing charges. Jessica Burgess, 41, has been charged with improperly disposing of human skeletal remains, concealing the death of another person, providing false information, and performing an abortion without a license, KOLN reports. According to court documents, an investigation began after police learned the 17-year-old girl, who has since turned 18, had allegedly asked Burgess, her mother, to bury the remains of a fetus. The Associated Press reported the teenager is Burgess's daughter. Medical records cited in court documents show the teen was found to be 23 weeks pregnant as of this March, with a July due date. Documents show she unexpectedly gave birth at home in a bathtub on April 22nd when she was about 7 months pregnant. That's when she allegedly asked Burgess to help her bury the remains. Nebraska law prohibits abortion after 20 weeks, according to the Associated Press. The body of the fetus was found buried north of Norfolk, and the documents allege Burgess, the teen, and a third person attempted to burn the body prior to the burial. Parts of this are sounding very reminiscent to a story coming out of Cincinnati, Ohio, a few years ago. The body of the fetus was found buried north of Norfolk. The documents allege Burgess, the teen, and an autopsy performed on the fetus revealed the lungs never contained air, but according to court documents, this could mean it was a stillbirth or the fetus suffocated. All I can say is that I hope the judicial system and juries around this country learned from the Cincinnati case. When you take the time to try to burn a body, bury a body, especially find a location to bury a body and come up with cover stories and everything else, yeah, this was not an accident. But before we jump back into the political climate, coming from CNN.com, Ezra Miller, the Flash star, seeking treatment for mental health issues. Ezra Miller, who stars in the upcoming DC film The Flash, is seeking treatment for matters related to mental health, according to a statement Miller provided to CNN through a representative. Having recently gone through a time of intense crisis, I now understand that I am suffering complex mental health issues and have begun ongoing treatment, Miller said. I want to apologize to everyone that I have alarmed and upset with my past behavior. Please tell us where that two-spirit indigenous individual is. Tell us where that two-spirit indigenous individual is. I am happy that Ezra Miller is seeking treatment, but where's the mother and her children that nobody can now find on your property in Vermont? Where are they? As a white male presenting individual, I know that you identify as non-binary. I'm not taking away from that. I will never disrespect that. But as a white male presenting individual, you have been giving chance after chance after chance after chance after chance, and they're still going to release your project. But an unproblematic Black woman had her project snatched that cost more than yours. Where are these missing individuals? I don't have time. Nobody has time for you to get your mental health together. We can deal with that after you tell us where they are. And I mean that. Because my very Black self, if I would have done a fraction of what you did and had people missing, nobody would give a damn about getting me to a therapist. They would have me in intense interrogation until I told them where those people are. So tell me where they are. Tell us where they are. And I'm sorry. You cannot convince me that mental health causes you to just diabolically break the law. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. Also, for those still on the Marjorie Taylor Greene homophobic train regarding monkeypox, I want y'all to explain something to me if this is a gay man's STD. Outside of it being found in water, outside of children contracting it, outside of a woman getting it from an Airbnb by sitting on furniture, coming from CBSNews.com, first suspected case of human-to-dog monkeypox transmission leads CDC to update guidance on virus. The U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention has updated its monkeypox guidance to include dogs as animals that can catch the virus. The CDC tweaked its guidance after the first case of a pet dog suspected of contracting the virus from its owners was documented in France. Scientists said in a paper published in the Lancet Medical Journal last week that they'd found evidence of human-to-dog transmission of monkeypox. Before that, it was not clear whether or not the virus could be spread to dogs. Monkeypox was declared a public health emergency of international concern by the World Health Organization on June 23rd. It is transmitted between humans through close contact with lesions or bodily fluids, and it's spreading in the United States and Europe among people who have not traveled to areas where it is known to be endemic. Did y'all catch that? Did y'all hear that? Stop with the very harmful, very dangerous rhetoric. I'm coming out of Louisville from the Courier-Journal. Ex-Louisville police officer charged in Breonna Taylor search warrant to plead guilty. Former Louisville Metro Police Detective Kelly Hannah Goodlett will plead guilty to one count of conspiring to violate the civil rights of Breonna Taylor for helping falsify an affidavit for the search of her apartment on March 2020. Goodlett, 35, will appear August 22nd before U.S. District Judge David Hale to enter her plea, her lawyer Brandon Marshall announced in court Friday. Magistrate Judge Regina Edwards ordered Goodlett to surrender her passport and have no contact with her co-defendants, Sergeant Kyle Meany and former detectives Joshua James and Brett Hackinson. Goodlett was expected to plead guilty and testify against her colleagues because she was charged by information rather than indicted. She faces a sentence of more than 5 years in prison. The charging document says Goodlett falsely claimed a postal inspector had verified Taylor was receiving packages for her ex-boyfriend, convicted drug dealer Jamarcus Glover, at her apartment before the raid. Goodlett, a detective in the now disbanded place-based investigations, was also charged with knowingly conspiring with James and others to falsify the search warrant affidavit, just so they could buy Breonna Taylor's residence for $1. We used to be the most precious commodity a white person could have, and now we're worth $1, at least in the Commonwealth of Kentucky, $1. $1. Now, I got 2 videos regarding Marjorie Taylor Greene. Please pay attention to both of them intently. We'll come back, we'll talk about it.
Believes that the FBI is also coming after her. In a video for a fellow crazy Republican candidate, she said the FBI is probably coming after her because they're terrified Republicans are going to make them pay. To me, it really sounds like Marjorie Taylor Greene is scared of the FBI and a potential crime she may have committed, but I digress. Why on earth would the FBI be scared of people like Marjorie Taylor Greene? There's just absolutely no reason that they should be intimidated. Republicans call themselves the party of law and order and then attack law and order.
So Marjorie Taylor Greene texted Mark Meadows on January 6th and told him, quote, "I heard there is someone on the first floor of the Capitol. Please tell Donald Trump to calm them. This is no way to solve anything." End quote. Guys, this is Marjorie Taylor Greene, the person who calls January 6th a peaceful protest, when actually she knew that Donald Trump had the power to call off the mob, but he refused. This demonstrates 2 things to me. The first one is that, well, it's another case of Republican hypocrisy. Marjorie speaking publicly that these people are patriots, but privately fearing them. And secondly, it shows that even Marjorie Taylor Greene knew that Donald Trump was responsible for this. Because if she didn't think he was responsible, then why would she ask him to call it off? He wouldn't have the power to call them off unless she knew he had the power, which makes him responsible. Guys, I'm going in circles here, but what I want to get across to you is this: Marjorie Taylor Greene is not who she says she is.
In any smoke and mirrors act, they expect you to follow the hand, not follow the eyes. Now, as a point guard in basketball, my dad taught us all, follow the eyes of the person, and you'll never lose track of the ball. Don't follow their feet, don't follow their hands, follow their eyes. If I see somebody looking over here, I'm going to then look over there. Too many people want to follow the hand, follow the feet, follow the head movement, as if the eyes can't move independently. You don't just see this in politics, you see it every day on social media, in your interpersonal relationships, everything. Where you'll have someone that forgets that their information can be tracked and retrieved, just like the receipts they try to put out their narrative. And that's what Marjorie Taylor Greene has been doing for far too long. And now she's looking at the walls of Jericho falling around her. The walls of the GOP been crumbling down. It took that one little crack. The crack of the fact that they didn't even take a page out of their Führer's book to not use technology. Now, he is not the smartest, so they were still able to find handwritten notes from... We've gone over this 100 times. She forgot that her text messages, her emails, her tweets, like, you can go back and try to dirty delete all you want. They're still there. But I'm going to tell y'all this. Stop being so easily persuaded and manipulated by people who give you a story that is comfortable for you to hear. Because life is rarely comfortable. Truths are rarely comfortable. If everything somebody says makes you comfortable, or all of a sudden makes you feel better than someone else, there's something wrong there. There is a fire brewing, and that fire is going to burn you before it burns them. So, I'll see you all tomorrow. We'll get into it with Taz and Chris. As always, each one teach one, each one reach one. And we're going to leave on a high note, or at least a funny note.
I was tired of all Trump's crimes. They'd just been happening too long. Keeping classified papers where they didn't belong. Then while Melania was sleeping, with Barron tucked in his bed, through the Mar-a-Lago front gate came 3 vans worth of feds. If you like stealing nuke secrets and getting caught in the act, don't go blaming the deep state or spewing dumb Tucker facts. If you like pleading the Fifth Daily in another court case, mess with AG Merrick Garland and see if you can escape.
Do I know that the boxes of material they took from Mar-a-Lago, that they won't put things in those boxes to entrap him?
Trump never cared about being guilty. I know that sounds kinda strange, 'cause every time he was guilty, he'd walk and nothing would change. Until the DOJ attorneys took out their legal notepads. And though the liberals were doubtful, their case was now ironclad. Yes, I like this new Merrick Garland, if he ends Trump's criminal reign. And if he's finally convicted, I'll get drunk on champagne. We need to lock up this big orange buffoon and end his MAGA disgrace at a supermax prison where he'll never escape.